When Life Gives You Llamas, and we are an FLL team from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and we're here to teach you how to be better this week at props and costumes and practicing and polishing. If you want to go see other videos on how to buff up your project presentation and make it more appealing to the judges, we have more videos.
Links to them are in the bio. Well, if you're in the bio, you already see them, so there's no link in the bio.
Because that's just extra work. No, there is a link. I've been putting links. Wait, not for our videos, so you can see the bio. You can see the videos, yeah.
Okay, let's start with talking about the importance of props and costumes. So this is one of my favorite things about the presentation because you can get super creative in it, and it's fun. Props are fun.
Yeah,
So,
I made some props for our teamwork stuff, and prop making is fun. It can take a while if you do good props, but it pays off in the end because judges like to see like really nice props with your presentation, and it makes your presentation look like cleaner and more like put together because they can see your ideas physically.
yeah, and the thing that's super important about props is showing your statistics on props, because that will give the judges a visualization of what you're talking about, so it doesn't just go past them, so they're getting what you're giving them. So I brought some examples.
Statistics.
Yep. I brought some examples of just what props look like when they're using statistics with them. And also another thing is if the props go with your theme, perfect, which is what we usually do. So this is a yoga mat.
It's a big yoga mat.
And basically we put duct tape on it and it says words, you probably can't see them, but this shows statistics of what 3 people are saying, so that's what that does. Another thing is we talk about how there's no gravity in space, so we have like a sweat towel, is that what it's called?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they give our
It's
ideas
like a round.
in words that the judges can read.
So a good way to make it, like putting it in with your theme, is that you can surprise the judges. Like if they think it's just a regular prop, but then boom, statistic. It's like, what? And then they think it's super cool. And so that's what we do because it really helps us surprise the judges and make it more fun for them.
One example from our presentation is we use the bigger points that we want to hit in our presentation, that we want the judges to remember about our presentation, and we put them in physical words on our props. So like this one says no gravity because that's a big point of our presentation, and we have another one that says no time because we want the judges to remember that and stick in their brain more than our lines would just speaking to them.
Costumes, you don't have to do costumes. We do costumes because it makes it not more realistic, but more in the moment, like your theme is actually happening. So it doesn't have to be a lot either. What we do is we wear like workout stuff, but we also, so here's like a sweater, and we have like bright colors, but we also do like leg warmers because it's funny and it keeps your legs warm. And
yeah.
We also have sweatbands because it's just it's the little things, so that's why we have sweatbands.
And you want the judges to remember your performance. So if you just come out and you're like in sweatpants and t-shirts, that's okay, you can do that, but the judges want to see a real effort that you put into the presentation, and they want to remember your performance by something. So if you come out and you're wearing like big costumes and you have an amazing presentation and these super cool props, the judges are going to be like, yeah, that's that one group that did amazing at their presentation, and we should totally advance them to state and then nationals and then win the whole thing because they're great and you want to do that.
So if just be creative as possible. Last year our theme was like toilets, and our statistics were on toilet paper, and it was like a huge thing of toilet paper that was made out of felt. Is that what it's called? Yes. I want to say Velcro for some reason. Anyway. And so we had like a huge thing of toilet paper. So if you could like enlarge things that are meant to be smaller, or like minimize things that are meant to be big, then it's fun that way too. On to practicing and polishing the presentation. This part is probably the most important thing that you could do in FLL with presentation because it's so important to make sure you're the best you can be.
Because if you don't practice, there's no way you can remember it. Like if you go over it once with your team and then you're like, all right, now we can put it away and not revisit it until state or until regionals or until nationals, it's not going to work. You're going to go to nationals and you're going to be like, does anyone have the sheet of paper?
If we don't use note cards just because it seems more professional when you have it memorized and you get bonus points. So not everyone can have note cards at all, which is probably a good rule, I would say. Like it just in my opinion, just because it's important that you know the things, and that's what the judges are looking for, that you know the information. So
Because once you know it, it's way easier to present.
and that's when you can get more of the fun aspects and you can start developing your character. And which also, you need to memorize outside of your practices for robotics because it's important to know your lines and to take your responsibility. And so you don't come to practice and you're like, line, and it's awkward because you're the only person that doesn't know your lines.
It's awkward.
What happened?
I could have said them and I didn't because I played the
She's
wrong
like,
Okay. I'm getting okay at solitaire because I play it all the time in school. When you're going through your lines and even when you're going through them at home, especially when you're presenting, don't feel so stressed that you have to do the exact line because then it'll come out as something like, then you have to lift 3.75 pounds per ounce, pounds per, and it makes you really second guess yourself. And the judges want to see a certain confidence in your presentation, and it makes your group just that much better, that you're memorized and you're confident. Even if you don't have the exact lines, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, and if you don't use the exact lines, that's okay because that means that you're putting yourself into it and you're not just reading it.
That's another thing with the research. It's really helpful not to just have like one or two people do the whole research for your team, because if the whole group does some research, then you will all have a bit of knowledge on the subject, and it makes your presentation sound more lively because you can tell when people don't know what they're talking about because they have like that edge to their voice where like they say things in their statements, but they say it like it's a question. So like, yes, astronauts can exercise for 2 hours on the ISS, and it's supposed to be a fact, but when you say it as a question, it really takes your confidence level down, and the judges can see that.
And also with that, if you say it in monotone, and this is a huge part because there might be some boring parts in the script, but that's exactly where you have to polish it. And if it's too boring and you can't make it exciting, then change the script and make it exciting because you want the judges to be engaged the whole time, because if you're not having fun, they're not going to have fun.
You have to show it on your face.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big part of presenting anything. If you're going through, you may be saying your lines perfect and you may be putting emotion into your speech, but if your face doesn't show it, the judges are going to be like, I don't know, are we supposed to be feeling happy or monotone?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can say even like a super happy line, like, we love going to the gym and we eat ice cream all the time. Don't do that. That's not cool, man. That's not cool. You gotta show it. You gotta express it. You gotta be
Engaged.
We love going to the gym and we eat ice cream all the time.
Okay, and that kind of ties with going how when you're polishing, when you're going to nationals and state, it's important to get it down to the prime and to get it exact, because there's those little things that we do in our script, like what we do for the people who are supposed to be energetic. Our thing is that we have like our hands on our hips the whole time and we're smiling like cheesy the whole time. And if there's one group, or like if all of you are supposed to be doing something at the same time, make sure you all are doing it at the same time and starting at the same time, because that makes it look so professional and so good.
Gucci.
Gucci.
Wait, we don't have the license. We're good.
So going with lines, if you can memorize other people's lines, that's great. If you don't want to, sure. It doesn't. This is just like an extra thing for the people who want to help other people, because after you're going over the script over and over again, you start to get to know other people's lines, and it's really helpful for that person if you know their lines, because if they forget it, it's okay. Even with your performing, it's okay to be like, remember this, or to just communicate with your team, because that shows teamwork, which teamwork is about all of FLO. So if you show teamwork in presenting your project, that's great, because then that means that you have gracious professionalism and you get points, not just for teamwork, but also for presenting.
And the most things you want to remember on your lines, you want to stress the beginning and end of your lines, because the middle is usually the part that like you want to not go on forever, because if the middle of your line is like usually the details of your project and like what the scientific facts are, and you don't want that to go on forever, because that'll make the judges bored. Because in the front of the line, the front part of the line is the opener, and it discusses the topic, and it says the opening statement that introduces it to the judges. And the last part of the line is the cue for the next person with the line. And the cues are so important, because if someone doesn't say their exact line, and the end of their line doesn't sound anything like what the script says, the next person who has a line might not remember that. Oh, right, that's my cue. So you want to practice the ends of those lines, because they're really important to the structure of your presentation.
Mm-hmm. And just to like putting it all together, just polishing, presenting, and like practicing in general, it's gonna take time, and you're gonna have to work hard, and that takes all of team participation. And it's important to go through it every day, especially getting more towards competition. We're guilty of not doing it every day, but we should. It's important to go through it every day, so you keep it fresh in your mind and you remember how you're supposed to be. And it can, like I said, it can get boring after going over it so many times. It can get boring, but you have to remember that it's funny, or like however you're portraying it, you have to continue to do it, that because like fake it till you make it, till you make it.
Yeah. If it's getting boring for you, it's going to get boring for the judges. So you always have to put an emotion, even if you don't feel it. You always have to put some emotion, put it on your face, put it in the way you say your words, and your like body movements, because it all affects how the judges see your presentation.
I think that's it that we have to
That's
talk
about it.
That's a bad example.
What about astronauts can
Astronauts have a problem in space.
Oh,
and
right. They lose up to 2.5 muscle strands a day. That's not my line, but
that goes with statistics, because if you can't remember your line, just look at the prop that you have and you're like, oh!
so helpful.
Connections. I mean...
If you have any questions, shoot it into the comment section. Shoot us an email. We post our email in bio, and we have a Facebook page. Comment on those. Anything you want to know, we will respond in our next YouTube video. Make sure to like and subscribe. Support our team. We'd love to see you at other competitions. So take our advice and use it.
But we're not going to see you at other competitions because it's our last year. You might see our little 7th grade boy, Matthew. It's his birthday today!
Yes, my son.
Wish him a happy birthday for us. Okay. And remember,
when life gives you llamas,
you
make
lemonade.
Wait, is the whip trademarked?
Yes.
We can't do that.
No, it's not. I'm joking.
Oh, all right, we're good.
That's how we end our videos all the time. And then Aiden walks out and he's like, I'm so sick of recording.
I can't do this anymore. I can't get out.